Hey what's famous, your girl Bella, welcome back to my channel. So I noticed that a lot of you really enjoyed my last video about Charlotte where I gave you all pros and cons about living in Charlotte, North Carolina. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about things that you should be aware of before you decide to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. These are really my exhaustive list of cons about living here in Charlotte. And if these are things that are not deal breakers for you, I think you should definitely consider moving to this city. But if you cannot handle these things, then it may not be the city for you. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first con is the weather. So weather, it's funny, in my last video I said that the weather is actually a pro because I'm from Dayton, Ohio. So for me, the weather is a pro, but I do have to admit Charlotte is a very, very humid climate. So if you do not like humidity, this is going to be a terrible place for you to live. Charlotte is so humid. The summer times here can get kind of nasty. Even in the spring, it's still kind of icky. Like, it doesn't get super cold here. I would say in December and January it is like on the colder side, but by the time like February hits, it's already getting warm again. And so if you don't like humidity, I would not recommend living here. This is a very, very humid climate. If you have like curly hair and you're trying to straighten it, you have a few months to do that, okay? You have a few months out of the year when you can do that. Don't try to do that past April, okay? It's humid out here. Along with the humidity is also allergies. So thankfully, I really don't have bad allergies, but I know a lot of people who suffer from really bad allergies in Charlotte because of the amount of pollen that's in the air. You can literally see it like floating about. So if you have bad allergies already, this would really not be a good place to live because the pollen here and allergies are really bad. And I know some people develop allergies just from living here, or it gets worse. I mean, I know people who live here that have allergies and they still enjoy living here, but I would say that you should definitely keep that in mind. There's a lot of pollen here. So if you're someone who's already sniffing and sneezing and when you wake up, you might not like that about living in Charlotte. The next thing that has to actually do with the humidity, and really this is my biggest con. My biggest con of living in this city, the roaches, okay? I've talked about this before. People in the South love to call it water bugs. Also, sorry, I live by the highway, so y'all might hear some highway noises. But people in the South love to call them water bugs. They are not water bugs, they are roaches. Like, you know those big roaches? Like, they're big. No, for real, it's probably like this big, honestly. Maybe a little smaller, like here. I mean, they're big, like, let's be serious. They have those roaches here in Charlotte because of how humid the climate is. In the summertime, they really be out. Like, you can kind of see them like throughout the year, but in the summertime, they be out and about, ready to fight you. Be fighting for your life with these roaches out here. It's bad. Like, they're very scary, and I personally just hate insects. I've lived in Columbia before, and the first house I lived in down there was actually roach infested. So I really don't mess with roaches like at all. So they're disgusting. I would say that when you're choosing an apartment, really do your research, because a lot of apartments can have them just because it's summertime. It's easy for them to walk in. So you want to choose an apartment that is really on top of their like pest control, and they keep the building super clean because they're out here, especially in the summertime. So that's my hands down biggest con of living in Charlotte. Next is cost of living. So Charlotte is touted as a place that is cheap to live in. Charlotte is not cheap to live in. Charlotte is an up and coming city. Like, it just became a city officially, I think, in 2023, this year, because I believe a place has to have 1 million residents to be considered a city. And so Charlotte like literally just hit that mark this year. So it is a city, and because it just hit 1 million, it's technically a small city, but it ain't small for real. It's not New York, it's not Atlanta, it's not Dallas, but it's not Dayton, Ohio either. With that being said, people move here because they assume that it's going to be cheaper. That depends on where you're from. Like, if you're from like New York or California, like, of course it's going to be cheaper to live here. But Charlotte is not actually a cheap place to live. Like, the cost of living in Charlotte is higher than the national average. It's pretty expensive. If you're moving out here and you're trying to live in like uptown, South End, like really like in the center of the city, I would say you should budget at least like $1,800 for rent for 1 bedroom. You can find some for a little less, you can find some for a little more. But if you budget $1,800, you'll have like a wide range of options that are actually like within the heart of the city, and that are nicer apartments that aren't gonna be decrepit. Okay. And along with the increasing rent also brings about other issues such as gentrification and homelessness. I've been in Charlotte for just 1 year, and I've noticed that the homeless population has actually went up in just the 1 year I've been here. Comparing last year to this year, I see a lot more homeless people. I can see the exact same homeless people all the time, but it's definitely increasing. It's because they are gentrifying the city. People want to move down here. This is a huge finance city. The people are moving down here. Property taxes are increasing in order to kick people out of their homes and displace them. Charlotte is getting very gentrified, and because of that, you're going to be seeing more homelessness and an increase in cost of living. So that is another thing to keep in mind before moving here. Let me charge my camera. Since she want to act like she want to die or something. It literally died as I was plugging it in. So if the angle slightly changed, I do apologize. So the next cons have to do with my people who enjoy drinking alcohol, enjoy enjoyment, enjoy going out at night. These are going to be some cons that you're going to want to consider. First of all nightlife in Charlotte ends at 2 a.m. There are like 2 places open past 2. It's the African clubs. Why do I know? Because I'm in Nigeria. Besides that, most clubs here close at 2. It is a sharp 2 o'clock. That's when most places close. And some places even close earlier. Like if you like rooftop bars, I love rooftop bars. It's my favorite place to go out at night in Charlotte are the rooftop bars. Those close at 12. One of them closes at 1. Booho closes at 1. The rest close at 12. And all nightlife, besides like 2 spots, close at 2. So if you like to be out all night long, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, no. By 2, take yourself home. Go home. There's nowhere else to be. Charlotte also only has state-ran liquor stores, which means that you cannot go into Whole Foods, Kroger. We don't even have Kroger down here. But you cannot go into Whole Foods, Target, places like that to buy liquor. You can only buy liquor at state-ran ABC stores. So you might be thinking, how's that a con? That's a con because those stores are closed on Sundays. So if on Sunday you remember, oh, let me go get a bottle for the week or for later, for whatever. You cannot buy a bottle on Sunday. You must plan out to buy your liquor Monday through Saturday and only at state-ran stores. So if you're just running into Target or you're running into someplace like that, you can get beers, you can get wine, but you cannot get hard liquor unless it is at a state-ran liquor store and not on Sundays. Along the lines of liquor, there is no such thing as happy hour in Charlotte. This was one of the weirdest things that I noticed when I moved down here. Charlotte has a law that if you are a restaurant or a bar and you want to do happy hour, like let's say you want to do happy hour 5 to 7, you must do happy hour all day long. You can't just do happy hour for a time frame, at least when it comes to liquor. And because of that, most places don't do happy hour because they don't want to be selling discounted liquor all day long. But there are a few places that do happy hour drinks. Like I know like French Quarter does like $4 draft beers, I think. I don't drink beer, but I've been there for happy hours with coworkers. I know they do $4 beers on Thursdays, but not a lot of places do happy hour. Typically it is for beer. There's happy hour for food, which is only from designated times, but for liquor, it's almost impossible to find a happy hour. So good luck with that. The next con is driving in traffic. So thankfully for me, I don't really experience traffic in Charlotte because I live in Uptown and I work in Uptown, so I don't really drive far ever. The most I'll drive is 20 minutes for the most part. But I do know that because people are moving to Charlotte, there is starting to be more traffic. The times when traffic is actually really bad that even I can attest to is if there's a concert, if there's a soccer game, if there's just something going on in Uptown, it will take you forever to get from one point of Uptown to the next point of Uptown. In my opinion, traffic on the highway is not that bad. Again, I have a bit of a, biased view because I don't have to worry about rush hour traffic, but I don't think it's that bad in comparison to other places. But if there is an event going on, traffic within Uptown can get very, very, very backed up. I remember last year I went to go see fireworks for the 4th of July and I wish I would have just walked because it was a 5-minute drive when I was coming to see the fireworks, and going back home it took me 30 minutes to drive a 5-minute drive because the traffic was so bad. And then also when it comes to driving, literally everyone in this city is from a different place. Most people who live in Charlotte are not from Charlotte. They literally call people from Charlotte unicorns because they're rare to find. Maybe 1 in every 4 people you meet is from Charlotte. That might be too high. That might be too high, Sha. I don't know. There's not a lot of people from Charlotte here. They're here, but majority of people you meet are from somewhere else. And with that being said, everyone has their own style of driving. Someone's driving a person from Detroit, then you got the DMV, then you got the Chicago, Ohio, New York. Everyone drives in their own style, and because of that, driving, you do have to be a very defensive driver and just be on your toes. On top of that, this is kind of a pro in my opinion, but the police do not be out here, okay? So because the police are not out like that, people also drive wild, but it's kind of nice because you can avoid tickets. The police have bigger crimes to fight than traffic in Charlotte, so take that as you will. So this is not a con for me, but this is a con for people who are from areas like the DMV, Philly, New York. There is no public transportation in Charlotte. Okay, let me say no. We have a light rail and that's it. I've never been on it because me I don't do public transportation. Like, I'm not trying to be sitting next to God knows who on the train and on the bus. Like, I don't do public transportation. But if you're very, very used to public transportation, I'll tell you now, like, there's not a lot of it. I will say though, like, within the city, like, parking is not too bad. Like, there's lots of parking garages. Most jobs give you a parking voucher, and there is street parking, of course, but public transportation is limited. I know some people who do use a light rail and they don't mind it, but there's not like a bunch of options. There's not like a subway and a train and all that. It's just a light rail. So if you're someone who you like public transportation, there's not gonna be a lot of that here. This is definitely a city where you need to have a car. Like, Uptown and South End are very walkable, but you need to have a car. Like, there's not gonna be a bus and a train and everything taking you here and there by Mutu. And then the last con is the crime rate. So I don't know too much about crime because I live in Uptown, but it is definitely a con about Charlotte. I know that Charlotte has a higher crime rate than the national average, but again, they are gentrifying the city. They're taking down the hood, so I don't know exactly how that's going to affect everything. I know there are certain areas where crime is worse. If you've watched my other video where I tell you about like pros and cons living in Charlotte, I list a bunch of places where you can live that are very safe to live. Like, they're not places that are filled with gangs and crime. Like, they're safer areas to live in, so check that video out if you want some more suggestions on that. Also, I have like an apartment hunt, so check that out if you're looking for a place to live within Uptown. I have a couple of nice apartments that I listed there. But yeah, crime is definitely a con. I have to put this on here because Charlotte's crime rate is higher than the national average, but I think as long as you're smart about where you live, then you should be okay to avoid this issue. All right, so those are some things that you should definitely consider before moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. These videos really helped me out before I moved here. I used to look them up all the time to know, like, okay, is this a place where I'm going to be safe, a place where I'm going to be comfortable? Like, should I move here? So I really hope that this video helped you all. If I missed anything and you're from Charlotte or you live in Charlotte, please comment down below anything that I may have missed that is another potential con. But I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If these things do not steer you away, then definitely go ahead and move down. This is a great city. It's an up and coming city, and it's a very fun place to be with lots to do. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye.